Hi everyone, my name is Rosie Paulson and I am a Jones graduate. I graduated in 2018 and I was Steven's buddy in Art Aces, sometimes PE, and he was one of my dearest, closest friends. I was devastated to hear about his passing, and I had come up with this idea to have a remembrance video for him, especially during these times when we're all semi-quarantined or maybe we're full quarantined, but I know for myself at least, I was having a very hard time with any sort of closure. I felt that being around people and hearing stories about him, would put a smile on my face and make me feel happy, and I wanted to enjoy his time here and embrace those memories. So I thought that a simple way to do that would be having these people send in videos of him and pictures, because he really touched the hearts of so many, and I wanted to showcase that, and his presence in our lives was all incredibly special. My favorite times with Steven was definitely in Art Aces. We had so much fun, whether we were, drawing people. I loved how he drew people. Whether we were going to Target and he was speeding in the fast lane, in the bike lane with Miss Dittman, or if we were, in the tween room making snack during art. He was so much fun in that class, and we needed him. We needed his energy. We had, some of the buddies and some of the leaders too would just be over it some days. We would ask Karan to draw and he was like, pass. And we were like, Stephen Willis, we need you in here. Get your energy in here. Get people excited. We're making art today. And it was amazing. And he did it every day. He never failed to make anyone happy. He brought an incredible presence to any room that he was in. One of the lessons that I taught in Art Aces was inspired by my brother Henry, who passed away when he was very little. And I had shared this story. It was around his birthday, my brother's birthday too. So in art class, when I was leading this lesson, I had shared Henry's story, and it was an emotional time. And we all did these art projects that in some sort of way were tied to carrying on his memory that was really important to me. And I'll never forget that at the end of the lesson, Stephen was one of my buddies, so he was always in my rotation of groups. But at the end of the lesson, Stephen came up to me and he put his hand on my arm and he said, Rosie, I wish I could have met your brother Henry. And I will never forget that moment. And I hope that they're together now. I hope they're living it up. They're two amazing spirits that I hope met up somehow. I'll never forget how excited Stephen was to ride on the bike. And I could not lift him onto that bicycle from his chair to the bike. Mr. Heselton could do it. Some of the paras could do it. And Stephen really asked me all the time if I could do it. And Michaela Ryan and I were like, Stephen, this is hard, you're this tough guy. He's always lifting weights with Miss Roof. I was like, I don't think I can lift you on this. And he would be like, please, Rosie, I just want to get on the bike. So, I would grab someone else. It was usually Michaela, and we'd lift him on the bike, and he was off. And it was amazing. It was like this special moment in the day when he could get around on a different sort of vehicle or transportation, And Mr. Heselton shared too, being on the scooters, and Stephen loved the scooters. It was like, every time we got the scooter out, he wanted, the specific red scooter, and he would lay on his back and he would push himself around. And his perseverance was showcased through so many memories with him. But I think that's something that will always really stick with me from him. He never gave up on anything or anyone. He really knew how to make people smile, and I think that that's, everyone shared it in their videos. Everyone at Jones knew Stephen Willis. Whether he was going down the hallway with his chains and his sunglasses, whether he was trying to sell you his mixtape, showing you his SoundCloud, everybody knew Steven, and he put a smile on the face of so many people. And I think that that is the memory that I hold on to and that I think about the most. Sometimes I wonder like how many times I was like, Steven, slow down. And we would be going in the gym or we're going to Target and he's like on speed 10. And we were like, Steven, like you're plowing through crowds of people. Like Steven had a serious need for speed. He was always, you know, ready to be the front of the line and the first one in Target, the first one home, the first one at lunch. It was crazy. He loved it. It was like, you know, he always wanted to be the first in line, the first person to get there. My freshman year of college, Steven would FaceTime me, usually on like Friday or Saturday nights. So I'd be with my friends and we're in our dorm room, and my phone would go off and it would be my messenger ringtone, Steven Willis wants to FaceTime. And I would answer and he would totally act like he was with me. You know, it wasn't like he was calling and asking how college was or, you know, different things about my life that were changing now. And I didn't, you know, it wasn't like that. It was like he still acted as if we were at school and I saw him every day. You know, he would be telling me, he's like, oh, Elijah did this today, Karan did this today, Amari did this, and, you know, Chanel told me this, and it made me feel so connected to them. It was such a hard time for me to transition to college and live in the dorms and be away from the buddies. They were so important to me. But the way Steven continued to keep me updated, it was amazing. It was amazing. It really made me feel like I was back there and with them, and it didn't make me feel as separated at all. And I think he knew that too. And when I would come back and visit and I'd be, you know, it wasn't much different. It didn't feel like so much had changed and that I was coming back to visit. It was just like another day and I was in art class with him and it felt like nothing changed. So the next series of videos are videos that were sent to me by people that wanted to share their favorite memories of Steven. And I hope that anyone watching this video finds some sort of comfort and closure in the next couple videos. And I hope that you laugh and smile and remember the light in our life that he was.
Hey, what's up? This is my girl. That's my girl right here. Hey, this Chicago and
Like this.
yeah, I got a lot of money.
Now you're gonna write your name right here.
Yeah.
Say,
Say hi, Elijah.
hey.
It's not on his face.
Say Rosie. Rosie, say I don't.
Beautiful. You like it?
Yeah.
Awesome. Hold on to it.
Hello, my name is Eric Fay. I'm one of the assistant principals at Jones College Prep. I was very saddened to hear of Steven's passing. Of all the students I've met in the 7 years I've been at Jones, he's always one of the first kids that I think of, when I think of the great kids I've met at Jones. His hats and the twinkle in his eye and him tooling around on his chair. One of my favorite memories of Steven is, I was fortunate enough to be at his graduation ceremony that we had in the courtyard. We had put on our caps and gowns, and I went out there and helped him celebrate that achievement in his life. I feel lucky to have been there for that. Rest in peace, Steven. You'll be missed.
When I think about Steven, I just look at the huge impact that he's left on the Jones community. He was always there talking to people, whether it be during ACT Lab or passing periods or lunch, and he really knew how to put a smile on everybody's face, and he just brought Jones together in a way that nobody else could, and we're going to miss him so much.
My
My favorite memory of Steven was one day during lunch when I felt a tap on my shoulder and I turned around and I saw Steven there with the biggest grin on his face, and he told me a knock-knock joke and we chatted for a little bit. And it was just a very simple moment, but it made my day, and I think that just shows how Steven brought so much joy to the people around him, and he was so funny, and we'll miss you so much, Steven.
Oh no! Oh no! George, rock!
I got a couple leaders to help break down. My favorite memory with Steven is from my junior year, from ACES class. We were paired up first semester. Every day at the beginning of class, Mr. Heselton always used to have us do walk laps around the gym. And I think for Steven and I both, that was a bit too boring and a bit too slow, and so we always used to sprint around the gym. We just sprint our laps around, and Steven, of course, always wanted to go quicker. I couldn't always keep up. I tried my best, but I think it's pretty representative of my friendship with Steven, which was that there was never a dull moment. So, Steven, I'm gonna miss you, dude, and hope you know how thankful I am to have had you in my life. See you soon.
Steven always had some sunglasses. If they weren't on his head, they were in his book bag or they were hanging off his shirt. And he always had a smile. And he always asked people questions. He had more friends than anybody I know. He loved going to Special Olympics. And when he would compete, when he would get done, he would congratulate the other kids. He liked getting his medal, but he loved taking a picture with everybody, with all their medals.
Hi, my name is Cooper Tanko. I graduated from Jones in 2017, and I met Steven during my junior year of high school in gym class through the ACES program. I was just immediately drawn to Steven because everyone who ever surrounded him was always laughing when they were around him. Whether it was him talking about his cars or music or jokes, he just made everyone so happy and always brought a smile to my face and everyone in the class's face as well. Reflecting on my favorite moments with Steven, I would have to say that one of my favorite moments of high school was with him. He got to go on a scooter for the first time in gym class, and it was just like a little yellow floor scooter, and just the look of joy on his face is something I will never forget for the rest of my life. My whole family knows the story. Like, they know about that moment for me because watching him have that freedom and just, you could see how much it meant to him was just so incredible. I always tried to get him on a scooter whenever we were in gym, and he just was so fun to be around. Those moments were so special because I knew, like, if he wasn't in my life, I wasn't going to be experiencing the joy that I was experiencing on the daily. So I was just so lucky to know him. He was such a kind soul, and, you know, as I said prior, he always brought a smile to my face and to everyone around him. So I know he's going to be so missed, but he left such a legacy on the ACES program and on me in general, and I know I'm not alone in that. He was so loved and still is to this day. I'm just so lucky I got to know him and I got to experience all of the joy he brought to my life.
I didn't get to know Steven for too long, given that he had to leave in October, but I'm so grateful for the time we did spend together. He was always so funny and such a drama queen. I remember this one time we were walking around the gym and I had on these bangles, and so Steven loved his jewelry, so he was so persistent on trying on my bangles. And so I tried to put it on him, but it didn't fit, and then he just started screaming. And so I was like, Steven, like, someone is gonna think something is wrong. But then he just started screaming even louder. And he could be such a drama queen, but he was always such a delight to be around.
All right, what's your name?
I'm T-Pain, y'all. What's up, man?
And what are these?
These my dreads, man.
Oh, dreads.
They call me T-Pain, man.
Oh.
Throughout this last week, I've been thinking a lot about our art class from last year and different memories from that really stuck with me. Talking or hanging out on field trips or talking about different things and laughing about different things at lunch and ACT Lab are the moments that really stuck with me the most. I know they're smaller than like a big, significant, specific memory, but those are the things I think back to a lot from ACES. Stephen was a great friend and he will be greatly missed.
I knew Stephen from working with him in a student organization I ran to plays and get funding for the special ed community at Jones. I also just remember him as a friendly face, and whenever anyone would see Stephen, he would smile and make your day so much better. He would brighten a room, and he was always so sweet to everyone, and he was such a joy and a pleasure to get the honor to know. I love you, Stephen, wherever you are right now. And thank you for being a part of my life.
What are you doing, Stephen?
What are you doing?
I'm gonna take a picture of you.
Oh,
I'll take a picture of you.
T-Pain.
So my favorite memory with Steven was seeing him every day my senior year. I got to see him right before my gym class, and like always, Steven was filled with energy. Greeted me with a handshake like always, told me how his day was. And that was a pretty good part of my senior year. I got to see him a lot. I got to see him in the morning as well by my locker. He was great.
Hi, my name's Emily and I graduated in 2018. I had the privilege of working with Stephen for 2 years, and there are really too many memories to choose from, and I couldn't settle on just one, but my favorite times with Stephen were walking around the gym and hearing his dreams about buying fancy cars and wanting to become a rapper, and I really enjoyed seeing him dance and show off all his jewelry and brand new glasses. He was a light and he'll truly be missed. Rest easy, Stephen.
Hi, this is Lance Larson, or Mr. Larson, to the students. I teach art ACES at Jones with Miss Dittman. And while we were already missing Stephen from graduating out earlier in the year, it was still such very sad news of his sudden passing. And I want to pass on my condolences to his family and friends. I'm so sorry for your loss. Stephen was a much bigger person than this world, and he had a real generosity of his spirit that radiated from inside him. It's truly amazing that he could have overcome so much in his life and still have so much to offer and share with us. I remember Stephen's sense of humor the most, his little bit of mischievousness and his sly grins or his like poses. A really cool young man, and he will be truly missed. Rest in peace and in power, Stephen.
Hi, my name is Nikki. I had the privilege of working alongside Stephen for the first 2 years of the ACES program. My favorite memory of Stephen was during my senior year, where I had to create a project to showcase why PE ACES was such a great program. And basically during that time I received and took so much footage of Stephen and his friends being themselves, always laughing, always having a good time, especially when they have their dance moves and whenever they're singing along. So those memories are definitely going to be missed, but they're always going to be cherished and appreciated. Love you, Stephen. Prayers and thoughts to you and your family, man.
I was in Stephen's ACES PE class for my last 2 years at Jones, and I would help up bring the equipment a lot, and I'd bring up the bikes, and every day Stephen was waiting by the door to get on one of the bikes. He loved to just ride around and chat with people and have another way to move around besides his wheelchair,
And Stephen was honestly one of those people at Jones that everyone knew, and he impacted everyone that he met. Whether you were involved with special ed or not, through Best Buddies or ACEs, everyone knew him and everyone loved him, and he is going to be missed by so many people.
Best friend, you back up my best friend,
Girlfriend.
You don't know about me. You don't know about me, sorry. Yo. I be getting money, alright, $2 billion. Yo, man. I'm T-Pain. What's up, man? What's up?
Stephen was the most selfless and caring, loving human being I've ever met in my entire life. He had such a heart for others and just loved them so much, regardless of who they were or where they came from. He really shed light everywhere he went. My favorite memory with Stephen this past year was when we went to Target for the very first time. And Stephen came up to me right before we left, and he asked me, "Zoe, will you hold my hand the whole way to Target?" And I've loved every moment I got to spend with him.
I gotta put the shades on. Okay, say it.
Rosie, I miss you. Bling, bling. What?
Before I start, I would like to give my condolences to the Willis family. Stephen was a terrific person. He was someone with a lot of courage, who didn't let his disabilities get in the way. He was very independent. Stephen never disrespected me. He treated me with the utmost respect. He always referred to me as Unc, and he definitely will be missed. And it definitely put a damper on my day when I heard that Stephen passed. So to the Willis family, you have my condolences and my prayers, and just continue to stay strong. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Laura Bobin, or Miss Bobin as students know me, and I was so sad to hear about Stephen Willis. And when I think of him, I just think of someone who was so popular, had so many friends, and he had just such a beautiful and unique style, not only in his outward appearance, but I can remember the way that he drew people. His drawing style was really beautiful, and that's my favorite memory. We're gonna miss you, Stephen. We love you.
My favorite memory of Stephen Willis is all the times that me and Lynn would be on the mat and she would be rolling over or going on her knees or sitting up. Stephen Willis would always come over and get out of his wheelchair and sit on the mat with us and cheer her on and just tell her how great she's doing, and we would just all hang out on the mat for a part of class, and it was always the best time.
Yeah!
This is Miss Khan here, a special ed teacher at Jones College Prep. I was so saddened to hear the news of Stephen. He was such an amazing young man that I got to know by talking to him in the cafeteria and seeing him in the hallway. And my most favorite memories of Stephen are definitely hearing all about the different sunglasses he has, the different jewelry that he came wearing to school, and definitely hearing about his workout routines, him lifting weights and being very proud of that. And I also loved how he took the time to get to know my students with severe and profound disabilities, asking questions, seeing how they're doing, and really taking the time to be a friend for them. I'll truly miss him.
My name is Lucas Schifrin. I was in the class of 2018 at Jones, and I had the privilege of working with Stephen in my junior and senior years at Jones. And I don't have one specific memory per se of Stephen, but he and I were really close, and he was such a positive spirit, and I knew that whenever I saw him in the hallway or in class or really anywhere. He would just make me laugh or make the people around him smile, and he was really special. And I was devastated when I heard about his passing, and I'm looking forward to do anything I can to honor him. He was such a great guy and only wanted the best for everyone.
What's up? What's up? What's up? What up? What's up? What's up?
I first want to start by saying that Steven's dance moves can't be topped. That kid was always dancing around, and it was such a sight to see. And a more personal memory is that a few years back, it was Valentine's Day. Steven had asked me to come over to his art table. I was not really sure why, and he later then asked me to unzip his backpack, and inside was a teddy bear that said, "Happy Valentine's Day." And it was so cute and so thoughtful, and he made my day, and that's a memory that I will always hold close to my heart.
One of my favorite memories of Steven is when we would do the parachute in Ace's gym class, and he would always be in his chair right in the middle, and whenever we needed help with holding it up, he would be in the middle and always be willing to hold it up. And that's just always how I think of him. He was such a good friend and so positive and excited about everything that we did. And I know that while he will be really deeply missed, his legacy will live on.
My favorite memory of Steven is after a long weekend, he'd tell me about how much he worked out and he'd flex his muscles. And Steven was always a friendly and positive person, and I'm so glad to know Steven.
Hi, I'm Haley, and my favorite memories of Steven are him being very persuasive in trying to get me to purchase his mixtape. I was really close to doing it. He is very talented. And also at the March for Our Lives protest outside of Jones, Steven and I listened to the speeches together, and he leaned his head on me, and it was just a really great moment in our friendship, and I miss him a lot.
My favorite memory with Steven would be every A-Day after second period when he and Rose would stop by my locker and we would just chat for a little bit, and he would show me whatever sunglasses he was wearing that week, and we would just talk about what we're going to do in gym class together. And it was just like a little moment in time that I was always grateful for every other day. So I'll always remember that, and we'll miss him a lot.
I was so fortunate to get to spend some of my high school being friends with Steven, and what I'll remember about him is that he always was so friendly and always had a positive attitude, and there was nothing that he couldn't do, and he was never afraid to be the center of attention. And even in these uncertain times, I know he would still put a positive twist on everything. And whenever I think of him, I'll remember to look at the bright side of every situation.
But in our class yesterday during Art Aces, I think Chanel brought up the sad news about Stephen Willis passing away. And so a lot of people had a lot of feelings about that, and they wanted to express their love for him and their remembrances of him. So we thought maybe if we recorded part of this meeting and people just said something kind about him or some memory they have of him, that would be a lovely remembrance.
Look what I made.
What did you make, Chanel?
A card.
Do you want to? Oh.
Yeah.
Do you want to read it?
This thing is my best friend from Chanel.
What do you remember about Steven, Chanel?
He went on the field trip with us for Special Olympics.
Yeah. And when you think of Stephen, what are other things you think of?
Memories.
Yeah.
Talking
Like
to
what?
him on the bus.
So for me, when I think of Stephen, what I remember is obviously Stephen and his hats, and his sunglasses, and his gold chains, and wearing them, and styling around the school in his chair. And then also what I remember of Stephen is always getting into a little bit of mischief all the time. And pushing the limits, and then I just have to call his name and I'd yell, Stephen, and then he'd sit straight up in his chair, look at me and say, what's up, Mr. Esselton? And then say that, he'd say, I'm sorry, and then he'd just continue on. But yeah, he was just a great spirit who was always more than willing to talk to anybody who would listen and sit there with them. Sometimes talked a little too much, but that's okay. That he was always willing to talk to you and make friends with anybody that was around him. And just he was a great spirit in and around the school.
So I have a couple of really fun memories of Stephen too. Going off on what Mr. Heselton said about Stephen loving to ride around in his wheelchair, he also loved to show off his rims to people and clean them in the bathroom, and then come and show everyone his clean, shiny, bubbly rim.
My gosh.
And then I also loved in gym class, every single time, every day, he would come to class and he would ask me if he could pump some iron. And I'd have to go find some bands for him and find some dumbbells. And he just wanted to get strong and show his muscles off to everyone. But he was so tough, and he would just get down on a mat and pound out a bunch of push-ups. And I couldn't believe how strong he was. For such a little body, he was really strong.
Yeah.
And the other thing is he liked to let his wheelchair run out of batteries whenever and somebody would end up having to push his wheelchair back to the school.
And it was very heavy. I think I burned
Without fail,
400 calories on that walk back.
Stephen would let his wheelchair run out of battery or forget to charge it before we left. Was Stephen your friend?
Yes.
Yeah. What did you and Stephen do together when you were together?
Actually, he is his second counts.
Yeah. Did you eat lunch with Stephen?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think I heard you say that you liked his glasses because he always had a hat on and glasses and his gold chains. Remember, Carlos?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what you were saying. He did have great glasses, and I think he stole a pair of Miss Bobin's glasses. And Miss Bobin actually remembered that, and she was mentioning that when I told her about how Stephen passed away.
Yeah.
Lila, do you want to share? Sorry.
Yes, I do have something to share.
Go ahead, Lila.
I made him this letter. I drew, the picture is the bus, and I drew me and Stephen.
Oh,
That's a very good drawing.
that's beautiful, Lila.
What did you write at the top?
It says, Stephen, I miss you. The bus rides with you. It says, Stephen, I miss the bus rides with you. You were so nice. I was happy to sit next to you. By Lila.
That's wonderful, Lila.
And what I remember about him is that I recorded him on my phone, and he was talking to me.
Yeah.
And but I think the video got erased or something because
That's too bad.
because I remember that I remember that he told me that he was rich because he said that he had a lot of money, and
Oh my gosh.
And he was planning on buying 4 Escalades.
Yes.
And he
And a
told me
Porsche.
that he would buy me one too.
He always told me he was a baller.
and I remember when he had 2 phones in his hand, and he said he was rich,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
he
had
would
a
always
serious
talk to me.
need to want to be recorded. He was I have so many videos that I didn't even know existed, and it's just him like with my phone taking a selfie video, talking to whoever, him and Rose, like who even
Yeah.
knows? So many people just have so many videos of him doing the most ridiculous things. He totally had a need to be on the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just always liked how he was smiling. Like whenever we saw him, and he always seemed to like kind of light up the room, make people laugh.
Yeah, he was like, I didn't know him that well, but he was the type of person that could always put a smile on your face.
Yeah, he did put a smile on my face.
Yeah. What about you, Mr. Brown?
I remember he really was. He was always had a smile. I mean, that kind of sums him up. He was great to me. I mean, he really welcomed me into the ACES class and made me feel part of the group. My memory of him is he quickly figured out that I was the guy that could lift him up onto a bike. And so that was about every day where I'd pick him up and put him on the bike. And he loved doing that. So that was our little special connection there. So
yeah. And Stephen always liked to push the limits of what he was supposed to do, because he'd do stuff and then we'd hear, okay, he's not to do that, and then for the next 3 weeks he'd like, oh, put me back on the bike, or let me walk around on my knees or my ankles, and it was like, no, Stephen, we've been told by your mom that you can't do that. And so
And how many times did we have to tell him to slow down his wheelchair?
Every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, multiple times where was I on State Street or Clark, like in the street. Rosie even has a picture of it, like risking all of our lives because he could not get through the pavement because he was going so fast. He had to get onto like, pavement. But yeah, I always
the bike lane.
Yeah.
But do you remember, Stephen, before he got the electric wheelchair? I mean, the way he cruised around in his other chair by pushing himself with his one leg was amazing. I mean, I remember seeing him for the first time thinking, wow, that kid is amazing. He's just using his leg and just cruising around.
Yeah. And when he was on the scooters in the gym, and he'd lay backwards on it and flip his head over the back of it and push himself around with one leg. But then if he would stop paying attention as to where he's going and see somebody and lift his head up and then run into something because he was stopping to talk to somebody while he was still moving, or trying to moving to talk to somebody. But he was quite nimble on the scooters too.
One more memory of Steven. He was in our cooking class.
What?
He was in our cooking class.
Yeah.
He had no fear when it came to trying anything new, even if he had trouble swallowing it. He really, I learned a lot from him in that sense, to just have no fear and to keep on going.
Speaking of, I'm gonna let me see if I can. I'm gonna try and share this, you guys. I found this picture when I was looking through my photos the other day, trying to see if I could see one of Steven. You guys see it?
It's coming up.
Yeah.
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 That was our Thanksgiving dinner we had in our cooking class a couple of years ago.
Anna,
What year is
This was not last year, but the year before. So 2 years ago. Two Thanksgivings ago. Yeah, Carlos is in there. And look, Elijah's in there, and Jimmy, and Karan, and Hannah, and April, and Chanel, and Coria, and Nige, and Stephen Feliciano.
Brianna.
Wow.
There's
And Brianna. Yeah, I almost missed her.
And Haley in the back.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Natalie and Sam Smith joined us for dinner.
Hannah taking her shoes off.
For dinner.
Isn't that cool?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And I forgot one more memory. I remember when he gave me I remember when he gave me a pink bracelet to me, and I really appreciated it.
That was very thoughtful of him.
Mm-hmm.
I have one more of Steven. He was in my science class with Mr. Edelman and Mr. Tanner.
What'd you guys do? Anything that stood out?
I opened the door for Steven. He opened so he won't open himself, so I opened it.
That's nice.